Again, it's a pleasure to be here again in the DIFC, DIFC FinTech Hive as a mentor. I'm in touch with DIFC almost like the day I come to Dubai, and I'm still keeping the programs, following up the programs and everything. And they have a great team, and I think they're really giving all their best to become the best hub in this region, and if not the world. I'm gonna just share my agenda, and okay, so I will start with myself. I will give you just some glimpse of my career journey, some important points, milestones, and then I will go to what I call the "What's in it for me" session, WIIFM. So I can, I would just give you how can I help you as a mentor, and then just like some highlights on the changes I've seen after the pandemic, and also I will give you some information about sharing about my seed approach. And between, I will pause after the WIFM session because maybe you want to also understand more about what I can give to you as a mentor. So there will be you can share your Q&As during anytime in the session, but I will be happy to answer after that. And also I want to, if the time allows, we can have a Q&A session after the whole presentation. So let's begin. Okay. So just want to start with a basic question. So what do they have in common? United Nations, Guarantee BBVA, and Oracle. And you probably say, what is the common thing? Actually, beside being the global organizations or the international organizations, there's nothing common. But United Nations was my dream space to work. And in my bachelor's degree, I have a degree in international relationships and political science. And beside that 1 week study visit, I haven't even worked for the United Nations or any other place. But then I started in my career, which I will little deep dive in the next slide, in Guarantee BBVA as a RM in a branch. And then after 20 years in different banks, 21 years in different banks, I moved to the Oracle, which is a fully tech company. But for me, I just want to start this share this logos, how the perception when I started my trainings and when I was young and now how I ended, and we'll continue. And actually I was thinking when I prepared the slides, sharing my journey, I was thinking how to visualize it. And then I think now is data and this charts and graphics is very appealing. Rather than just putting the logos, years and everything, I just want to put it on a kind of a chart. And I realized that every job I change, every role I change, what I started is the tech part of this role is increasing. It's not a surprise to me. I knew it and I feel it, but when I put it in, it gives you rather things. And also it's very much in line what we see in the finance. That's why we have fintechs now, which is fin and the tech. And maybe 20 years back, there's not much tech. There's tech, but there's not, we call it IT mainly, but there's not tech. And now everything becomes business is combined with the tech. Just very quickly highlights. You might ask, like, maybe what is the 10% on a sales RM doing in corporate banking? And as actually, this is for me the turning point, because I voluntarily choose to become a member of a project and do some UATs and some testing when I was in the branch. And the more I involve with that project, the more demands come from the business, from the IT team, because they want someone to be the bridge between the business, especially one to the end users, and to them while developing. And this was my turning point. And then I moved to head office. I moved to Unicredit Group. I moved to head office in the marketing team. And of course, we do some, at that time, we don't call it product development or product, we call it marketing. So we did some product development. We deal with some screens, what CRM, RM screens. It gives you also increase my my approach to the tech more. Then I became a regional manager And this was a time the e-commerce is booming in Turkey, and I got a lot of companies start to do e-commerce, and I was helping them with the engagement with banks. And it was a time where we were start talking about APIs, because before that it was like CSV files sending for the bulk transfers, and then we have these API integrations. And this combination in my fourth role with the business and the tech, and of course the customer side, brings me the unique role in the bank, which is becoming the first innovation manager of UniCredit and UniCredit Group. There was a role exist in the global level, but nothing in the local level. So I became innovation manager. Then my sharing between the business and the tech is increasing. By the way, I just realized that it's somehow, I didn't put in purpose, it's not 80% sure. The top is the business. Actually, the business is always decreasing, but actually I want to keep it this way. Again, then 4 years ago, I came to Dubai for the Emirates MBD. I became there was a new setup in the organization under the CDO. CDO offices, Chief Digital Office is being organized, and I joined as the head of FinTech, the first for this role. And there was like, I was trying to understand what I can do during that, because in the innovation space, I engaged with a lot of FinTechs. And before we call them vendor, but now FinTechs are coming and they're different than the vendors. And last year, I was in CBD as a digital product owner for the retail banking. And recently in May, I joined the Oracle digital transformation team for the sector, for the financial service sector as an expert. And I'm happy to help all the FinTechs with my all 21 years experience in banking and my current role. So what I can do, how can I help as a mentor for the DIFC FinTech Hive? So I identify 4 pillars. One is my banking knowledge and the seat, which I will a little bit deep dive in the coming slides. My knowledge in banking, of course, 21 years is a long journey, and with the different organizations, different business units, will help you to understand more as a FinTech what the banks need and how they operate. And of course, the latest trends as I just recently joined, and also in Oracle, I will be also meeting a lot of banks, if not the insurance companies. And of course, seed approach is something I developed during the course of my FinTech, head of FinTech years, how to engage with the FinTechs in an organized way. And then, of course, my networks. I mean, I build a lot of networks thanks to this 20 years, and also maybe all these organizations like the DIFC FinTech Hive, all these trade delegations I engage with, all these ecosystems. So I can help you with my personal networks and the banks and the FinTechs. FinTechs programs and FinTech database. I'm also senior advisor for EFMA, and they have a FinTech database, and some other also companies that are having this kind of FinTech database to match the banks with the FinTechs, if not the FinTechs with the FinTechs. And of course, I always not like my strongest network side, but also some VCs and angel investors are approaching me for if I knew anything that might be of their interest. And innovation. I think this is one of the areas I can really contribute to you. I'm a mentor, I'm a trainer as well in the innovation space. And I always apply a simple methodology called Scamper. Please Google it, you will like it. Scamper is like nothing but like substitute, combine, adapt, modify, magnify, put another usage, eliminate, and reorganize. So every letter has a special meaning, and you try to tweak your business, change your product according to that. It's not like changing everything from scratch, but it will help you to reshape your products in a better way. So we can run like a 1 hour, 1.5 hour Scamper session. We can also keep it, follow the results in the course of time. And I can also as a customer, but as an experienced user, I can also review your CX and your journeys as well. And last but not least, as I'm a part of Oracle organization now, I can help you on Oracle Cloud subscriptions. Please Google it. You will find it on the Oracle. We have a free tier, which you can start testing using Oracle for free. And then I can help you for also getting some best fit for your needs as well, some quotations on that. And as Oracle, we have, let's say, FinTech programs and startup programs, which you can also have a discount on your usage. And also what we have in Oracle is called ISV network, which is independent software vendors. So that if you become a member of a network, this network, of course, there are some conditions, but Oracle will be promoting, Oracle sales team, ISV sales team, promoting your solutions. So please, if anything catches your attention under this 4 pillar, please reach out to me after the session. You can reach out to me from my LinkedIn page or my email as well. Okay, so any questions so far before we move to the next phase? So I'm open to your questions. Okay, so I hope I make it clear for everybody. Okay, so let's move to the next phase, next part. Okay, so I think 2020 is a very unique year. And while I was in the innovation team and in the FinTech, heading the FinTech team, FinTech engagement in the digital office, as a digital office, we were really trying to change the organization from inside out. And at that time, you always like see people, yeah, it's good, we need it, but we have our daily priorities. It's not urgent. Maybe we don't have the funding budget, but then when the COVID hits, the things that we are trying to explain why we should do it now becomes a necessity. So I just put it in 6 lines. So one is, before the COVID, banks always rely on their branches, and branches were always the main channel. And we had in banks had broken journeys. There's nothing much we can talk about omni-channel or disjoint experience. I mean, they were, but not for all, let's say, for the big majority of the processes. And most of the time, when you're trying to build something new or try to innovate, IT teams will say, hey, we should build it. We should build it in-house. And you usually build it in waterfall approach. I mean, even they were like agile started, but they usually build in a waterfall for the big projects. And then I wouldn't say there was nothing like FinTech. There were always FinTech. There was FinTechs before the pandemic. But for them, sorry, by the way, I just realized one question. I would take it just after this. I finished this. They were thinking that FinTech is kind of a back office solution, or like something which the customer doesn't see as a part of the bank. So they was like, okay, we will have this solution, be it on the AI, be it on the back office, RPA. We were open to work with them, but we would think like as a vendor more than a partner. And we think the banks were thinking like, hey, governments will always work with the banks, and they trust the banks because, and even, you know what happens in 2018, they save the banks in US. And when you talk about cloud or a solution in the cloud, they were always like, hey, yeah, cloud is good, but to be on the safe side, we should be on-prem. Or best case, I would say, let's say we have a mixed solution or a private cloud in our premise. So what happens, and as the pandemic hit, and I think it will stay as same. So banks realize digital is the first channel, and they have an integrated channel approach, because now suddenly, all of a sudden, you have your branch closed, your branches closed, even you have back office running from home, you don't get any business, you don't get any demand. And they realize they should go for a digital first approach and integrate their channels. And they should have an end-to-end digital journeys, which they need to integrate it, and customers should be able to finalize it even without going to branch. Or you get like a very minimum branch attraction, and and also customers should follow each and every channel. And of course, as the urgency came, rather than build, it becomes buy, and then you realize that you should also integrate it with agile methodologies, and then agile becomes a more stronger practice. And fintechs become a partner for them, because now banks are more open to present the solutions they acquired from the fintechs, or they partner with the fintech's name and in the front line, and because they want to build an ecosystem, because they realize that if they don't do it, this partner, the customer will use another fintech directly. So it's better to build the ecosystem, not to keep everything for themselves under their brand, but become more like an umbrella rather than just one brick and bank house, become like an umbrella that provides this ecosystem. And what we see is governments work with the fintechs. Even in US and UK, fintechs volunteered to be a part of this support programs, and they did pretty well. And now the governments are trusting them, and then the regulations are coming. But what we see even in UK, I have heard from my friends who are living there, fintechs were quicker than the banks in this kind of helping this SMEs or the individuals to get this support payments, and also how to make use of this support payments, and also some kind of basic short-term loan allocations. And again, last but not least, everything becomes cloud first, because if you want to deliver quickly with a low cost, with an agility, and you want to be scalable, flexible approach, and you should also bear the cost in mind, cloud is the answer. And we see, not from the banks or not from the fintech sides, the more banks and fintechs, the more banks move to cloud, the more industries move to cloud. Also, the cloud providers are increasing their reach to the different regions. And thanks to this approach, Oracle now has a data center in UAE and Saudi. I think it makes a lot of sense for the fintechs who wants to partner with the banks or want to develop their solution in this region or extend it to this region, to use Oracle Cloud, and I can help you on that. Okay, and before I answer the question, I want to share just this cartoon. That means if you we have a thanks to God, and we have a cloud-based solution for water allocation, thanks to clouds. But also now, if you think that internet is the next water or electricity, I think the cloud is the best option when you want to have a global solution and you want to deploy it globally. Okay, I will answer the question now. Okay, there was an anonymous question. So for the slide, would you explain why cloud first? Yeah, I think cloud first is, I think I already somehow underline it, but I want to little elaborate on that. Is now cloud is, if you deploy in the cloud, you don't invest heavily on the infrastructure. You don't heavily spend time on building this in your on-prem solution. But again, also you don't know when you launch a new product or a new service, you don't know what will be the workload. So you need a flexible, scalable, and a low-cost solution. So and also there was there were peak times, there were lower times. So cloud is the best option. That's why the cloud first approach is becoming more dominant. So when you launch on the cloud, you have the scalability in a very cheap way. And of course, you can always scale if you see demand. And if there's no, let's say if you see that the solution is, the workload is still, you can manage with the workload, you don't extend. So this is a low cost solution, but also it helps you to overcome a lot of latencies. And since these cloud providers, be it Oracle, Microsoft, AWS, they also provide you security, which is an enterprise level security. If you're also a fintech, you don't really spend, you don't need to spend a lot of time or efforts on the security, because they have this and they assure you this enterprise level security for you. I think these are the main points, but I'm happy to discuss if for the anonymous question in a further way if they reach out to me, and I can go through my view on that, and I can explain in a deeper way. Okay. Okay, so we're stuck in this page. Okay, now. Okay, so I know the attention span of us is changing and always reducing by the time and I think we're already like halfway. So I just want to quickly explain what I mean with the seed. So seed is an approach aiming to streamline the banks and the fintech engagement. So I like to make this kind of abbreviations. So it's scout, engage, evaluate, experiment, and deploy. And I like, it's very much, seed is a very much familiar word for incubation stages or entrepreneur stages. For you have a seed you have a seed funding as well. So I want to kind of tweak this word with this methodology, I would say. So scout is like, for banks, it's finding a fintech that's matching your need from your business unit or your, if you see an innovation opportunity. So you scout for a fintech. And for fintech, it means that when they scout you, when they search for your solution, you should be visible. I just list down like 5 here, but I want to quickly say, since we're in DIFC FinTech Hive, please participate in the incubation and acceleration programs. And this is very much useful, and most of the time for us, for the banks, it's the first go-to source. And when I was in Emirates MBD, we for 3 years we participate DIFC FinTech Hive acceleration programs, and we really do a lot of good partnerships with them. And then also for the banks, I will say also reach out to country trade delegations. And in Dubai, we are quite successful. I see quite successful models here, and we are quite lucky about it. And of course, you can partner with your big tech vendors. Most of them has a program for the fintechs and startups. And for the fintechs, even I was talking with Shireen before, I mean, to be visible is the key thing, and you should create a content. You should post it on LinkedIn or intranet. And like people like me, when I see this report, when I see this white paper, when I see this post, I go in detail, and of course you can get my connection information to download the report, and then you can reach out to me, and I will be always have open doors for you, because I got something from you and I need to return it to you. And of course, I mean, for both sides, you can also connect with the other fintechs to do a better scouting. Okay, and the second stage, I would say, the engage, which you engage as a bank with a fintech or a fintech with a bank. And here you should really engage with the larger team if you're a bank of a fintech, and you should be sure that the solution is matching the need opportunity. What I want to underline is here, because actually this is something we've done in MSMBD and it worked very well, is create a simple checklist covering the business, what the business needs, the cost model, and the deployment model, and which is very key, I will say. And this will also help you to really tell you who to focus in the next stage. And for the fintechs, even if they don't come to you with this kind of a list or questions, you can also provide them, and also be clear on what you want to sell to them, right? Not like every solution on your pilot. Don't focus on what they want and try to give these aspects to them, and then be sure that they understand. And if you find a single point of contact, it's great, but if not, try to find one. Okay, then we came to the next space, which is the evaluation. So for bank, I suggest you to create a larger team, not the business unit, not the digital team, even involve procurement, IT. What do you think makes sense? Even maybe the marketing as well, and do the evaluation with them, and set clear criteria for the evaluation. And please ask for the fintechs what they were previous clients and reach out to them. And of course, you can use the knowledge of your partners like Oracle, Microsoft, and MasterCard, Visa, these kind of things. And for the fintechs, please ask for a detailed workshop for the evaluation, not just like a one presentation, just question and answer. Dedicate your time. And I think one of the critical things I want to always say, fintechs are hungry for, usually hungry for getting a new business, but you have a limited source. Please, you also do your evaluation from your point of view. Do you have enough source? Can you dedicate enough resources for this project if you go on further? Please be sure that, because in what I see in most of the cases, fintechs were very eager to get it. But when you say, okay, now we will do a POC, now we will deploy, say, no, but we have most of our team dedicated on this, give us like a 1 month, 2 months. This shouldn't be happening. I know it's usually happened the other way around, but this shouldn't be happening because I see it sometimes. And the experiment is do a POC, POV. Of course, for banks, be clear on the timeline and the environment and your success criteria and the cost of the POC. And please acquire a sandbox or cloud environment for the POCs. I know like Oracle and even other companies have like cloud environments or some sandbox for that, which you can do your experiment phase. And for the fintechs, please agree on the timeline and the success criteria. And I would say, be sure that the right environment and the data will be provided to you, because sometimes you start a POC, but then you don't get enough data to reach the success of your POC. Please be sure and give a list of what you need in terms of environment, in terms of tech stack, in terms of data, which you need. And please be sure that you will have an access to that, because sometimes this data exists, but you don't have an access, and it's always like complicated. And of course, you should define a success-based criteria, and the cost you should, I mean, banks want to have it for free, but being someone now in a neutral position, try to make a define a success-based cost to cover the cost of the POC. Don't, I mean, okay, free is good, but you also, sometimes you don't see the full value when you give someone something free. And the last and most critical stage, in this stage, most of the time I'm become more in a supportive or like a monitoring role, but I know what is happening in this stage. So define the timeline, please, to start the deployment. Involve the procurement, which is key partner. Define a single point of contact from your side and ask for the same from the fintech, and start with the business stage. And for the fintechs, again, the same thing, timelines, and when you will start to deliver, allocate your team for that, a single point of contact from both sides. And of course, procurement team is the key team. Okay. Thank you for listening to me. And I want to finish with a comic, and everything is now becoming like as a service. And I think lots of the kids were asking, do we have a homework as a service? And I don't know yet, but if I know, I will share with the kids. Okay, thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take your questions. Okay, I see another question, anonymous. Okay, the question is there a framework for fintech, like a checklist for something? Okay, there are. I mean, of course, it's changed from organization to organization. I think what I shared so far in the seed can help you, but again, I'm happy to at least name some elements on the checklist for the fintechs. But the most relevant one, as I explained, is you should go through the tech stack, and you should go through the results. You should also understand the timelines, and of course, whether deployment, whether it's going to be on-prem, cloud, hybrid, this kind of checklist you can build. Of course, also the solutions and what is the end result. So each stage you can make a kind of a checklist step by step. Okay. Now I see another question from Asoy Kazanchi, is also a mentor. So what are the trends in fintech space, UAE and globally? Okay, so there was, of course, I think we still, the payments space is the most trendy one, I would say, but it's the other fields are catching up. I would say the payments still, and globally, I just read something recently that PayPal is doing like 50% of all internet-based payments, and payments is one of the most critical. And under the payment is changing now. I think pay now, buy now, pay later is coming, and also another space is now this, which I see very attractive, and also we have good examples in UAE as well, is the payday loan, which you pay, you get a loan for your next coming salary. And of course, the usage of AI for CRM, next best action, customer interaction as well. Chatbots is becoming more stronger each and every year as the machine learning technologies and AI evolves. Robotic process automation as well, and digital onboarding, and both globally and in UAE phase. And I would say anything regarding the RegTech, be it AML, be it this other RegTech solutions, is has the biggest investments for last 2 to 3 years. Okay, any recommend readings? Well, as a book, it doesn't come to my mind for now, but I will always like, it's a kind of, how to say, my go-to book is like 7 Habits of Most Effective People. But if it's in general, but I mean, it doesn't come to my, okay. But let me check. There was like a recent book, I couldn't figure out the name, but from Brett King. You should read it as well. And I think this is one of the keys. I have it on my library. If I don't want to switch, but I just can Web 3.0. I think the name of the book. Okay. Another question. How does Oracle partner with fintechs investment go to market? Okay. So from right to left, I would say, go to market. If you are a fintech and if you became a fintech partner or an ASV, we help you to go to market. But this means you should be in a later stage that you have a product which you already built and operative in one market, and then you became a partner, and we help you to go to other markets where Oracle presents. Investment, I haven't heard investment so far. As actually I recently joined, but I think it's not on the plate for Oracle. But if you think that's also giving some environments for testing, free cloud usages is another thing that we help the fintechs. But and we have a fintech program And with this FinTech program, you really become visible all global reach of the Oracle. Okay, another one. Why most FinTech innovation on payment credit cards are the same thing? We look for more innovation. So the question is why most FinTech innovations on payments credit cards does the same thing. They do the same thing. We see the reputation or the replica of one model. So we'll look for more innovation. Yeah, I think this is you're right, but this is also kind of a very quick model for return of investment. Maybe this is because of that, and then and still is the most visible one for us as well, for the consumers and for us. But I think there were a lot of FinTech innovations happening behind the scenes, which you don't feel, but you're actually getting now. Even let's say the credit cards, a lot of FinTechs, even like some FinTechs I know already in the DIFC FinTech Hive, they are really trying to help you to help the banks to do what to offer as a customer for the next best action, and or how to help their consumers save smartly, and this kind of things happening. And also I will say there will be more innovations to come through the course of time out of the payment space, and we will see differentiators. But this is like how I think similar to where every place in every corner in the world. When some things become popular, there will be a lot of replicas with small tweaks around it. But I would say anything on the subscription space will be managing the subscription space will be the next innovation, because everything has become as a service and subscription based. And if this is, I think, the next space. I'm looking forward to see something in this space. If not, I'm going to build it. I'm happy to build it as well. Okay, we are. Let me stop my presentation and see my stuff. Oh, there was chats as well. Oh, sorry. Stop sharing. Okay, let me go to the chat. Then I will have more space. Okay, chat. Okay. Okay, thank you, Arda. Nice to see you. Thanks for watching. And Gurau, what is my view on buy now, pay later? Is it becoming so crowded, especially in countries with small working populations such as Australia, and so many companies coming on buy now, pay later space, and on the valuations of the payment FinTech companies? Actually, thanks for the question. It's a question from Gurau Agarwal. I agree to the statement. It's becoming a more and more crowded space. And funny enough, in Turkey, where I'm from, we have this buy now, pay later solution dedicated to cards without any interest, almost like 15 to 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. We call it installment. But of course, and the good thing is we don't reflect it to customer, the interest. And it's becoming, you're right, it's becoming a very crowded space. And I also come across a lot of buy now, pay later solutions. But the key is, and the differentiator is which target group, which group you're targeting, and what is your threshold and your revenue model. Because if you target the right crowd, and if you have a sustainable revenue model rather than more than the interest, it can help you. And of course, the other thing is the data you're collecting. How do you process the data you're collecting, and can you use it for another purpose? But this is what I think. And the valuations of the fintech payment companies, I mean, I learned by burning my fingers that I wouldn't say anything that is overvalued in this fintech ecosystem, because we are, maybe I'm coming from a banking background, I'm still thinking about this return of investment model, where you think, okay, how many, I'm investing 10 million now, but what will I get in the course of 3 years? But if you check at this digital, only digital banks or the payment fintech companies, some of them are not profitable now, but they have a huge customer base. They're sitting on a huge data, and they have a high, crazy evaluations. I think some of the investors or some part of the market is putting this valuation on more on this customer base and the data they are collecting. I will put it this way: I couldn't say they are overvalued, but it's because it depends on which are the lens you are looking for. Okay, any new question? Okay. Let me check questions and answers. Okay, Shireen, do you have any questions for me?
I don't know, but I think that you had quite a lineup of questions from the audience.
Thank you. I hope I can explain the seed approach without becoming boring, but actually, I think most of the banks and the fintechs needs this kind of streamlined approach, because it's a new space and new kind of partnerships for the both sides.
For sure.
And also thanks for you and the programs like you have. You're really making a lot of things which I explain easier for both sides as well.
It's all about creating impact, and we do it as a team. We're a team at FinTech Hive.
No, I mean, thanks. I love to be a mentor and carry this unicorn, and I'm happy to celebrate the first unicorn out of the DIFC FinTech Hive soon.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Gorkem, for being our mentor for today.
My pleasure, and I'm happy to be the mentor for the course of time during this year and help you on these aspects I explained in my presentation, and happy to answer any question that come afterwards.